कोरा कागज था ये मन मेरा 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 लिख दिया नाम इस पे तेरा 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 कोरा कागज था ये मन मेरा लिख दिया नाम इस पे तेरा.
Our guest today is Mohan Subramaniam, a very well-known singer in the New England. He and his team have produced several sold-out musical programs in Boston and New England area. His next program is coming up in May called Badshah-e-Romance. We are going to talk to him about his upcoming program as well as the Badshah of romance and the romance and how he got into singing and producing these fantastic shows. Mohan, welcome to our studio.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And we are very happy to have you here.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Before we talk about music, song, and other things, let us first talk about Badshah-e-Romance. How did you come up with this idea?
So the concept essentially, we are talking about three, what I would say, unquestioned kings of romance in Hindi films over at least our generation span. And when you think of them, Dev Anand is clearly one. The yesteryears, Rajesh Khanna during my teen years, and of course now if you ask the modern generation, Shahrukh Khan, comes across as the romantic.
So now is these three Badshahs?
Right.
Is it arbitrary selection, or you went through some process to decide that who these guys are?
Well, to be honest, it's more of a gut feeling, and it's also when you ask people. So we did even in our last show, Khandan-e-Kapoor. We kind of gave a glimmer of what we were going to do the following year, which is this year. And in the audience, we asked, we are going to do a show on three of the greatest kings of romance, and from the audience, right, these three names popped up. So so we have some kind of reality check, and most people we have talked to about, these they kind of agree.
Yeah.
That these three.
Well, I do agree definitely on Rajesh Khanna and Dev Anand. Shahrukh Khan, I don't know much, but I'm sure we are going to talk about these. But right now, let us stay a little bit on your actual program,
Right.
which is happening in Lexington, right?
That's right, at the National Heritage Museum
Museum.
in Lexington. That's where we have been doing our shows for at least the last 2
And
years.
that's in May, right?
On the 16th of May.
16th of May. Okay. So before this program, last year you did Khandan-e-Kapoor.
That's right.
And that was also very theme-based program. It
Exactly.
focused on Kapoors.
Exactly.
And before that you have done Burman. That was also very Shaam-e-Burman.
Right.
That was
Right.
focused again on Burman. And
Right.
before that you had done Suhana Safar.
Focused on Mukesh. Yeah.
On the Mukesh. So all these programs which you have produced, and they have been very, very well received.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about this concept, the conceptualization of theme-based musical programs.
Right. I think that, when you are bringing, an audience of 400 or 500 people, and you want to engage them for, 3 hours or so, it helps when you're bounding it or you're circumscribing it around a certain kind of expectation.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're telling people that it's about Khandan-e-Kapoor or it is about, RD and SD Burman, they come with some expectations. And then I guess a program like this, for us people who have grown up in India, many of the people who come are all like us, right? The audience is a reflection of, our generation and our friends and our social community. And for them, it's a nostalgic ride. You know, it takes them back into a time. And you asked about Badshah-e-Romance. I mean, you know, many ways I believe that the romance in our lives has been so significantly influenced and shaped by Hindi films and the romance, right? I mean, how Devanand comes across, how Rajesh Khanna or Shahrukh Khan come across. I mean, that's the kind of our own visualization of romance. And I think these programs, when you put a theme around it, it becomes easier in a sense to engage the audience because they come with some expectations and then you're delivering to those expectations.
So, how do you speculate, for example, that let's focus on Badshah-e-Romance.
That's right.
What are the 3 or 4 things you think that audience will walk away after attending this program?
Right. So first thing is, of course, you know, you want to give good quality music. Okay, so we are very careful about who comes on stage to perform, and we've got a team of excellent singers.
So who are some of the singers this year?
So we have the same team that we had last year with a minor change. We have this one edition. But it's me, Anuradha Palakurthi, Soumya Shri, Raghu Saranathan, Valentino Almeida, Nidhi Tare, and Sriram Shivramakrishnan. So that's the team. And these are all singers who, they're very experienced. They can deliver songs very, very well.
Sure.
And so then we pick and choose the songs that will fit within a certain time frame. And then the point is that if you are trying to, obviously, if Devanand is a third of the program, I mean, Devanand songs can fill up, 10 programs, forget about, one. So then the challenge becomes, which to represent. And then so you can't, there are some iconic films of these actors.
So let us start with Devanand.
Okay.
I know you do not want to disclose the songs which will be performed there during the program.
Right.
But what will be your 2 or 3 favorite Devanand songs?
Well, I mean, these are, I'll safely say these are some songs that I performed before. They're not in this program.
Okay.
But for me, Guide is a film of Devanand, and the music and everything that came across together in Guide is very, very unique. For me, Din Dhal Jaye is a song that I can never forget, and I performed that in Shaam-e-Burman. Then there are some older songs of his, Khoya Khoya Chand, what is that, Dheere Dheere Chal Chand Gagan Mein. These are, classic romantic songs of Devanand. They may not be in this program, but there are so many wonderful, beautiful songs.
So now this leads me to another question.
Right.
That can you tell us, or can you speculate at least, that what was that magic in Devanand which really made him such a romantic hero?
I think that firstly he's a very good-looking guy. At least, particularly when he was young, he has a very fresh face. He's a magnetic smile, and the ease with which he delivers his dialogues are just amazing. I can just give one small anecdote, not necessarily with romance, but this is about Devanand.
Sure.
That Jewel Thief is another big iconic movie of Devanand. Right? So recently there was a celebration of some 50 years after Jewel Thief, and they were interviewing Devanand, and he was asked which is his favorite movie, and he said Guide. Then they asked him, how many times have you watched Guide? And he said that I don't generally like to watch my own movies because every time I see a shot, I feel I can do it a little better. But that artistry that he had, that every frame that you take in how he presents the emotions are so wonderful. And in romance, I mean, it's just his looks, his smile, his demeanor, the way he delivers his dialogues. Oh my God! I mean, it's just completely unique in that sense.
So now let us move to Rajesh Khanna, which, by the way, I totally agree because I am a big fan of, and I personally think that, when it came to romance, there is no one like Rajesh Khanna. What is your take? What is your appeal in Rajesh Khanna?
Well, I mean, I would say his smile again, but a different smile. His expressions with his eyes and the way in which he would, uh, and they had very unique ways of delivering dialogues. You know, even in a movie like Safar, right, which is not necessarily seen as a big romantic movie, but there are some dialogues of Rajesh Khanna, if you listen, and the way in which he talks to Sharmila Tagore, it is so, what shall we say, there's so much of magic. You know, the voice is so special. There is a certain tenor to his voice, and the Hindi and the diction that he comes up with is so beautiful. And generally, I mean, again, very good looking.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
and at the time when he was young, Aradhana, I mean, the time when that first shot in the movie when he first comes in Sapno Ki Rani, that smile of his, you know, his, and the way in which he winks his eyes and he kind of presents himself, oh my God, I mean, you just, I mean,
So, what will be some of his favorite songs, for example?
well, there are so many, you know, so, I mean, again, without disclosing anything.
Sure, no, absolutely. We're just
You know, some of these big famous movies with lovely songs, you know, Kati Patang, Aan Milo Sajna, Anand. Anand, though it's not again romantic, but again some
Sure.
beautiful songs in that movie. Mere Jeevan Sathi. I mean, who can forget, you know, Mere Dil Ke Chain? I mean, you know, this is, or Daag. If you think of it, Mere Dil Mein Aaj Kya Hai? I mean, these are all, you know, evergreen songs. I mean, these are songs that shaped romance in our lives as we were growing up.
now you have also selected Shahrukh Khan,
Right.
and so why he's in the list?
Well, see, you know, when we did Khandan-e-Kapoor, we found that there was a kind of allure to making this big, expansive, you know, stretch across generations. And the Kapoor, I mean, you know, there's a unique family.
Absolutely.
So you start with Prithviraj Kapoor, where there were silent era movies, and go right up to Ranbir Kapoor, you know,
Sure.
today's heartthrob. And we felt that there was, you know, even in the delivery of the songs, there was so much of variety, and even as performing these songs, right, there is so much, you know, there's so much of variety in terms of what you're presenting, the singers you're presenting, the artists you're presenting. So this time too, we felt that, you know, that kind of stretch would be very nice. And of course, Shahrukh is an amazing, amazing actor.
Now, like, you know, we talked earlier about Devanand, and you mentioned that, you know, his looks, his smile, and, you know, how handsome he was, and seems true with Rajesh Khanna. But honestly speaking, Shahrukh Khan doesn't fit in that category.
That's right.
So,
But
you know, I mean, he'll go by his height, go by his stature, but still there is some magic in him.
Absolutely.
And can you pinpoint that magic in Shahrukh Khan?
I think the dimples in his chin, I mean, in his cheeks, is very unique. He has, you know, you just have to watch Dil Wale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge.
Yes, I have
you
watched
know,
that, yes, sure.
And the way, not just with, you know, the lead actress, right, Kajol, but even when he's talking to Kajol's mother in that movie, right, when he's talking to Farida Jalal, there is an unbelievable allure to his personality, his charm. You know, he's such a charming person.
So, if you were to pick one or two songs for Shahrukh Khan,
Kuch Kuch Hota Hai has to be there, right? Dil Wale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge songs have, you know, something has to be there. And then you'd be surprised that even in some of his more modern movies like Chennai Express and all that, there's some very beautiful songs of his. Tujh Mein Rab Dikhta Hai.
That's a beautiful song, yeah.
Gorgeous songs,
Yeah.
you know, and very, very romantic songs. So it's a span across
good.
multiple
Now,
generations.
as a producer, I have to ask you this question. What is your definition of romance? What do you define? What do you consider romance is?
I think it is projecting a certain magic in a relationship, and a magic that makes your heart throb in a certain way, makes you relate to that person, makes you feel that you are in this enchanted space, and that, you know, that you too are, you know, in that kind of magical, beautiful world, right? With a
So you
special
think
person.
that Badshah-e-Romance program will create that ambience and magic in that auditorium.
That is what our attempt would be. And the other thing, if people who have come for our previous shows also see that what we do is that we are able to bring certain videos in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And what those videos appear to do, from feedback that we have received, is that it essentially takes the audience back into that time. So it adds a different dimension. So as it is, we are trying to present, a song that Rafi would have sung, or Kishore would have sung, or Lata would have sung in a movie with Devananda, Rajesh Khanna, or Shahrukh Khan. But we also have the clips in the background, and when the tracks are playing, the musical interludes, we actually show the actual movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so it takes the audience right back into
Mm-hmm.
that time.
Who are some of the organizers of this program?
Oh, we have a core committee, as I'd like to call a star-studded core committee. We have Dr. Manju Sheth, right, from Chai with Manju, Pritesh Srivastava, Harish Dang, Ishani Shah, who's done so many Gujarati shows, Jharna Madan. All these people are, wonderful established
And
organizers.
if I'm not wrong, you have done all these programs with them.
Right, and I cannot forget my wife.
Sure, okay, yeah, absolutely.
Who is the rock solid, backbone.
I'm
of
glad you
this
remembered her,
program.
otherwise.
No. I was going to give her a special introduction before you.
Okay.
So, but she, without her, these shows are not possible for me, right? I mean, in this because of her, and because of her support, and together we complement each other so beautifully, and because of that. we are
So
able to-
talking about her, how did you meet her?
Oh,
Is there some romantic connection there?
huge. So we have been dating since 1977.
And
So-
how old you were at that time?
Well, we are okay. I have no problems, but my
Okay.
wife may get upset.
Well, you
but
may just
anyway,
tell
but no,
about your-
1977. It was the 14th of January, 1977, Uttaran day in Gujarat. That's when I proposed to her in a movie theater where we were watching Balika Badhu. Talk about that song, Bade Achhe Lagte Hain,
sure.
right, and all that. And Baroda had a place called Kamati Garden, which was just kind of across the street from the ladies' hostels, and so I used to walk down to the girls' hostels, pick her up, and then we used to walk around and all that. But we know each other since childhood days. I mean, her brother and I were classmates from kindergarten, but then we officially started dating when we were in college. We were in our late teens, let's put it that way.
So does the Badshah-e-Romance traces back to 1977?
Well, even before that, actually.
Before that,
But
yeah.
the thing is that, and music used to be a big part of our lives even then. Meera and I used to, many times, go to, we had the Gaikwads had a palace in Baroda. And Ranjit Singh Gaikwad used to be a big music fan. So he used to call, classical musicians to what we call Darbar Hall, that is in his palace. Huge, beautiful, and many times the morning programs would be peacocks in the garden, and so we used to attend these programs, and we used to walk back those days from Darbar Hall back. And for us, music, and then we used to sit in the lakeside, and we used to hum songs, sing songs together. So, it has been such a huge part of our life. And these songs from Devanand and Rajesh Khanna, and of course not Shahrukh Khan, but
Sure.
they have been part of how we have been.
Sure.
That's what has actually. I doubt anybody would disagree that
Sure.
Hindi movies have a huge part in shaping how we think of romance. And
Did you ever imagine, in falling in love with Meera, your wife, being Rajesh Khanna?
Oh, I wish. I wish I had, a fraction of that magnetic charm and that smile of any of these people. Oh, these are very special people. I mean, in many cases, you would think that they're kind of freaks of nature in some ways, right? I mean, that something, in their genetic makeup gave them not just these wonderful, charming looks, but the voice and, the ability to emote in that kind of way and things, it's just amazing.
What about your the team members? What was their response and take on this concept of romance?
Most, like I said, that most
When you
of
have worked with them for...
Absolutely. And so we do run it by them, before we start. My only observation has been that it's always been that when we pick a title, it takes a little while for the title to sink in. So Khandan-e-Kapoor, the first reaction was, we understand the concept, but Shaam-e-Burman, we understand, okay, you're doing S.D. Burman, R.D. Burman, what is Shaam-e-Burman? But after some time, it kind of gets a ring to it. I think Badshah-e-Romance has done that.
I think it's very obvious.
It's,
Badshah-e-Romance is, I think, one of the best titles,
Right,
actually.
it is. And
It gives the message right away.
right away. And it's a very, it's a great theme to, it's a very exciting theme to work on. There are beautiful songs that you can pick from.
How many songs you guys will be performing roughly? Have any idea?
We typically don't do more than 20, so that we aim to make the program as slick as we can, and we learn as we go along, and we try to make it such that from the time the audience comes, all the seats are reserved seating. So we number all the seats as soon as So when you come into the auditorium, before when you register, you get your tickets. The ushers will take you to your seats, and we seat them. And once you are seated and once the program begins, we want to keep everybody.
Anything different you are doing this time than you have done in the past other 3 events?
It is. I would say that the big difference was from Suhana Safar to Shaam-e-Burman. We made a big change, which is, from Keefe Tech, first of all, we came to the National Heritage Museum.
Which is a beautiful auditorium.
Huge,
yes.
very, very different ambience.
Yeah.
And then that was the first time we started really playing around with the videos as background. So Shaam-e-Burman was the first time we did that. And I think after that, all our changes largely have been incremental changes. That is, we kind of try to refine it and make it better and better and better. I wouldn't say that there are any radical changes to what we are doing.
So basically, the concept and
Concept
the
is
theme
different, the way we'll deliver, and of course, the main reason why I'm in this in the first place is that every program you hope that your ability to perform is a little better, that the songs that you are able to deliver come with more accuracy, more emotion, more feeling, more power, all these kinds of dimensions that we constantly work on.
Now, in the past, in most of all the events you have done, you have donated some money to the charities.
Right.
What you are going to do this
So
time?
we have chosen the same two beneficiaries this year.
Which are?
Saheli. Both Meera and I are huge supporters of Saheli, and we think that the cause is wonderful, to help South Asian women and so on. And the other beneficiary is Shishu Bharti, like last time, where I feel, it has a lot to do with Indian culture and, disseminating Indian culture to the children. And so those are the two beneficiaries. So what we do is that we make the net proceeds. So the budget is limited.
Loaded with heart and romance, right?
So we have a limited budget, but we try to make the best with that budget. And I think, we give money, which is a couple of, a few $1,000 kind of amount. That is the range that we can come up with because of the nature of the budget of the program. But this year probably we'll give a little more. This time we have raised the ticket prices a little, and so we might be able to give some more. But I think the greater value to Saheli and Shishu Bharti is that we also, bring about awareness about them. So, when 400 people come and they're engaged in the program, they walk away with a deeper understanding.
Now, in any program, I think the light, sound, and the master of ceremonies make a big difference.
Right.
So, tell us a little bit about master of ceremonies this year.
Right. So the core committee members essentially come and do the emceeing. So Manju and Pritesh, Harish Dang, Jharna and Ishani would be the main people who will be introducing the programs. We are also doing things like we are going to probably bring some clips of these actors from their movies. So a lot of the introduction to many of the songs will be done by these actors themselves through the clips, through the video clips, right? So we are going to do that. So there'll be that combination. Sound, I cannot, I'd be remiss to not mention Javed Wahid. He has been, my rock solid support all these years.
Now I'm coming back to your journey. Now you went to Indian Institute of Management
At Bangalore.
In Bangalore.
Right.
Then you teach at Boston College.
That's right.
and your wife is a physician.
That's right.
And so, where your journey with singing began, and how it started?
Right. So it actually started right at my parents started as musicians.
Mhm.
So they were Carnatic music musicians. My
No,
father.
they were professional musicians, or
They were
just
they were professional.
professional?
So my grandfather was a pretty well-known teacher of music at that time. He was those days a contemporary of a legendary mridangam artist called Palghat Mani Iyer.
Mm.
So my father learnt with him as a child, and then he basically took. And my mother also was They were both class 1 radio artists, AIR, All India Radio. My mother used to teach at Kalakshetra so that was their life. But when they married, their marriage was very controversial. So my father was a Brahmin, my mother was not, and she was a divorcee at that time. And when they fell
So
in-
this must be a big story at that time.
were
then.
huge. So
Huge.
so much so that they had to leave,
Hmm.
and so they chose to come far away from the south. So they left everything and came
So
to Jamnagar.
I want to get back to the
Right.
romance story. So, any interesting anecdote you remember about their love?
Well,
I mean, it was a big bold at that time.
very huge. So see, my grandfather died very early. I was a very young child, so I didn't. And with my grandmother was, wouldn't talk so much about these things, but I used to hear a lot from my uncle, his younger brother, and his stories were about how. It was a huge controversy.
Sure, I can
and
imagine. Yeah.
Very bold.
Even these days, like, that type of thing is, already becoming more common. But
Right.
at that time,
Right, but my parents had a wonderful marriage, and I think what it has done is that it has my parents, because of their such a controversial love marriage
Sure.
at that time,
Okay.
they had to leave the south,
Okay.
and they got a job in Jamnagar,
Right. Okay.
where there was literally no atmosphere for Carnatic music.
Mhm.
So then they started Hindustani music. So during my early, or when I was 8, 9, 10, from that time onwards, Hindustani music was at home.
So does it mean that the romance gene runs in the Subramaniam family?
I guess so.
Coming back to how did you get into the singing?
So classical music was always a part of me growing up, and I was very fond of Hindustani classical and Carnatic music, and used to listen to a lot of it. I did get some basic training on the violin as I was growing up, but again, being Jamnagar and far away, there you don't. And then came call, but my parents did not encourage me with music, though, that I must say, because of their own experiences. That they had to leave everything, and those days there was no money in it also,
Sure,
and they had tried it as a career, and before they could establish themselves, so they had to switch, and they were both professors of English actually, so they were academics. So they always encouraged me to stay the course, and how things are in India, right? You get a job and you settle down, and these kinds of things. And those days my parents were also very particular that I although I don't think of music as a career, but listen to good music, which is classical music. I still remember those, must have been in the 7th or 8th or 9th standard or something like that, when Aradhna was released. And in Jamnagar, I used to go from my home, I used to run all these errands around, get the laundry, get some groceries, that was my job. And you walk into town those days, all the chai shops.
Yeah, pan ki dukan, chai, and all this stuff. Yeah.
Kora Kagaz, Mere Sapnon Ki Rani,
Yeah.
Roop Tera Mastana. Kora Kagaz, I still remember. It's that tune. I mean, if you have grown up with classical music, you cannot just get drawn to that. It is so beautiful, and I started getting, engaged with, film music, which are essentially towards the melody. Even today, my bias is always, programs also reflect that, that it kind of tends more towards melody because of this kind of background.
When was your first public performance? Like
In college, when I
college.
was in Ruya College.
like 12th grade?
No, Ruya College, I was in inter-science those days. So
Okay.
I must have been 16.
Okay.
So somebody told me that there's a Ganpati festival going on in the street, and if you come and sing, we'll give you 15 rupees. So for 15 rupees, I sang some Hemant Kumar songs, I remember that.
You remember the song? Or?
Yeah, no, Tum Hame Jano.
Oh, that's a beautiful song, yes.
That's right.
Now, the one last thing I wanted to ask you is that talked about the music background of your parents and you. And I think, if I'm not wrong, I heard last year your daughter sing too.
Right, right.
So she's also.
She's a very gifted musician. I mean, in the sense, she learned the piano all through, as Western classical, all through school. But she has a very, very keen sense of music. And I must say this too, that Meera is also, been so supportive because she's been very interested in music. And, although like to just finish that story from that Kora Kagas time in school where I got drawn into film music, meeting Meera got me into the poetry. Those days we used to talk about Pankaj Malik songs and Ye Raatein, Ye Mausam, Ye Hasna Hasana, and the beauty of the poetry. And in many ways our romance did get shaped by the beautiful poetry around those songs. Kiran, our daughter, is, I would say, very keenly understands music. Today too, I mean, before I do any show, and as my preparation is coming close, I make her sit, I walk, I run through all the songs, and she will point out to me where, if I'm going a little flat somewhere, if I'm going sharp somewhere, and she catches some of the most, nuanced, issues, and she listens. So a Shahrukh Khan song that she's familiar with, she listens so keenly that she will tell me things that I would not have, I would not have got from my listening to that song. So no, it's so as a family it is great. We are, we love music, and she performs too. In fact, last Khandan-e-Kapoor.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I saw.
She came in. Yeah.
Now, before I let you go, I have one more question.
Okay.
So, of course, it is going to be the Kings of Romance.
Right.
And the program is going to be focused on these three kings that we talked about. Just for exercise purpose, who think will be the queens of romance?
If I go with who,
not in any order, but just top three in any order.
I have to name Madhubala there.
Basically, between us, the walkaway name is Madhubala, right?
Madhubala.
Okay, good. Mohan, thank you very much for coming. It was really pleasure talking to you.
It was beautiful. Very nice.
We should do it quite often.
Okay. Thank you.
And looking forward to seeing you at Badshah-e-Romance.
May 16th, National Heritage Museum
In Lexington. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.